Yay! You're awesome. What's up? My name's Christian Brown, and today we're going to be talking about The Magic of Thinking Big by David J. Schwartz. Bam! Chapter 4, How to Think Big. Now, David starts off by saying that the greatest human weakness is self-deprecation, right? We're always selling ourselves too short or selling others too short. And the first thing you got to do is never sell yourself short. He gives a perfect example of this with, trying to get a job, right? You might see out there that there's a job open and it's exactly what you want to do, and you know you'd be great at it. You know how to do it even. But you might go, oh, well, yeah, I'd be good, but there's probably somebody else out there that's better than me. It wouldn't be worth going after it. Oh, stabbed. Terrible. No, you got to go for it. You got to believe you're the best or equal to the best. We talked about that another time. Same thing with, going on a date with someone, right? You might look over, see that girl you've been wanting to ask her out for a long time, and you know you'd probably be good for her. And whenever you guys chat and talk, you always have a good time. Seems like you have so much in common. But in your head, you're like, well, yeah, but, she'd never be with a guy like me. Or he'd never be with a girl like me. Like, there's got to be someone else out there that's better for him. No. It's killing yourself. Can't do that. Now, a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is words. How words and phrases really color thinking big and how you react to the world and how people take you. What matters when you're talking to someone is not the words and phrases that you say. It's what you put in their mind. He gives a great example of talking about, a business expense, something like that, right? You might be working for a business and you might buy a company car or something. And if you tell people, oh, we incurred a big expense. Oof, that sounds bad, right? Oh, geez, oh no. But if you tell people, well, we made an investment, right? Because maybe this car is going to be used for advertising all over the place and is actually going to be really good for the business, right? You could either call it an expense or an investment. But when you say, oh, it's a big investment, everybody thinks, oh, positive. Yeah, this is probably going to return a profit. This is great. So words are really crucial to how we think about things and how people are affected by what we say. He talks about how in your mind, you don't see words when someone talks to you. We see in pictures and emotions. And it's what words make us feel and imagine that are really what matter. And he gives us 4 examples of this to show words that can work well for us and words that can work negatively for us. The first one is, sorry we failed, versus, here's a new approach that I think will work. We face a problem, sounds difficult or unpleasant, versus we face a challenge, right? Sounds fun, could be sporty, that could be pleasant. We incurred a big expense. I just talked about this, right? People see money. They never see a return. It's out the door. It's gone. Versus we made an investment. We see a return of big profits. Apparently it's only 3. I thought it was 4. Whoops. The point is this. Big thinkers are specialists in creating positive, forward-thinking, optimistic mental images in the minds of themselves and in the minds of others. They're always creating positive pictures in all of our heads. All right, David's got this great list of phrases that show what you can say that'll produce a small negative mind image versus what you can say towards the same thing that'll give you a really big positive mental image. So here's a couple of the examples. It's no use, we're whipped. Or, we're not whipped yet, let's keep trying. Let's try a new angle. I was in that business once and failed, never again. Or you could say, I went broke, but it was my own fault. I'm going to try again. I can figure this out. I've tried, but the product won't sell. People just don't want it. Or you could say, so far I've not been able to sell this product, but I know it's good, and I'm going to find the formula that'll really make it sell, and a lot of people will want it. The market's saturated. It's already 75% sold. Better get out now. Or you could say, oh, great. Imagine 25% of the market isn't sold yet. Count me in. This looks big. Their orders have been small. Cut them off. Or, Oh, well, their orders have been small so far. Let's map out a plan for selling them more of what they need. 5 years is too long to get into the top ranks of an organization. Count me out. Or, it only takes 5 years to get into the top ranks of this organization. That gives me 30 years to serve at a high level. The competition is all the advantages. How do you expect me to sell against them? Or, competition is strong, but no one has all of the advantages. Let's put our heads together and figure out a way how we can beat them at their own game. Nobody will ever want that product. Well, in its present form, it might not be saleable, but let's see if we can make some modifications to make it valuable so it will sell. I'm too young or old for this job versus, oh, I have a distinct advantage because I'm old or young. And the last one is great. It's very simple. It won't work, let me prove it. Right? The image you get, dark, gloom, disappointment, grief, failure, versus it will work, let me prove it. And then the image you get is bright, hope, success, fun, victory. David's got 4 ways to develop the big thinker's vocabulary. The first one is use big, positive, cheerful words to describe how you feel. When someone asks, how are you? Never say, oh, I'm tired. Always say something like, just wonderful, how are you? Right? Even if you don't feel like it and you are tired, just saying that will bring you up. You'll be the person that people want to be around because you're bringing everybody else up, right? I feel just wonderful. How are you doing today? The second thing is use bright, cheerful, and favorable words to describe other people, right? Always talk positively on others. Always talk great about your coworkers, your friends, family. Never gossip. 3, use positive language to encourage others and compliment people at every opportunity that you can. When you compliment people, it makes them feel so much better. All of us want praise. All of us want to be seen that what we're doing is good. When someone tells you that you did a great job at something, you feel it. If someone tells you, wow, your hair looks amazing today, it makes you beam the rest of the day and it makes your day so much better. And if you're that person who can give the compliment, they're going to be so happy you did that, and it's going to make your day better too because you're going to know you made them feel so much better the rest of the day. And the fourth thing is to use positive words to outline plans to others. Take a look at this, right? Think about this. Here's some good news. We face a genuine opportunity. That sounds good, right? Versus, well, whether we like it or not, we've got a job to do. They're both getting the same message out there, but one puts a really positive image in your head and the other one just makes you feel, oh God, this is going to suck. See what can be, not just what is. This is how you really think big. David gives this great example of a real estate salesman he knows. And the real estate salesman realized that things like, oh, hey, this land has, X amount of acreage and X amount of woods and it's, X distance from a town, it's, 20 miles away, something like that. That doesn't get someone excited and ready to buy something. But if you say, hey, this has got all those qualities, but also I could see some really amazing things you could do here. You could turn this farm into a true farm, right? You could plant orchards and sell wine, or you could turn it into a riding stable. And what he would do is he would spend a few minutes for each of the properties that he was selling, and he would think up ideas for how to turn that property into something like a money-making machine, like an actual business. And then when he presents it to potential customers, it's not just a property with these dull facts about it. Now it's a property with this idea that can make it look so much bigger and more successful. And so not only did this allow him to sell his properties much faster, but he could sell them at a higher price. People naturally pay more for acreage and an idea versus just acreage. Now the second thing he talks about is how much is a customer worth? And he talks about how in this retail store, one of the managers overheard this employee talking to one of the customers. And the employee was like, blah, 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 like fighting with them. And finally, the customer left all pissed off. And the employee was like, I'm not going to, waste my time helping this guy on $1.98 customer. And the manager thought about this and she was like, well, that seems crazy. They shouldn't do that. And didn't bring it up to him. But then she went to senior management. She was like, what is a customer really worth to us? And it was super surprising to her. But they looked through all the data and they figured out that their typical customer over a year spent $362. And so what they realized is no customer is really just a $1.98 customer. That repeat business is where the real money and profit is. I know in a lot of the businesses I've worked for, they don't even make money the first few months they have a client, right? It's all about that longevity. And so it's important that you realize the real value of a customer over time. The third thing is the blind milkman. So this one's great. David had a milkman come to his house, and the milkman was trying to sell him, and he asked, did you sell the lady over there? And the kid was like, oh no, she only takes, half a quart every 2 weeks, or half a quart every 2 days. And David was like, did you not see something? And he was like, oh, because the lady was pregnant. She was about to have a kid in less than a month. And it dawned on him, oh my God, yeah, how blind could I be, is what he said. And so you got to look at things and notice what they can be. Turned out, by the time he finished writing this book, that lady had that kid and also 2 more, I think, brothers and a sister, right? And they were drinking 7 quarts now every 2 days. The fourth thing is what determines how much you're really worth. People who don't have much look at themselves as they are now, right? I don't have a lot of money in the bank. I have a crappy car. Maybe I got issues with my girlfriend. I live at, not a good place. And they always are focusing on that. Whereas what you're really worth is what you have in here. If you believe that, I could drive a Maserati or a Ferrari, and I could someday own a big, huge house, and I could have an awesome family, an awesome friend group, and I could be an executive as a company, that'll get you so much further. The price tag the world puts on us is identical to the price tag we put on ourselves. David gives us 3 ways to develop the ability to see what things can be. The first one is practice adding value to things. Think about that real estate example that I gave earlier, right? What can this really be? The second thing is practice adding value to people, right? What can I do to add value to my subordinates? Remember to bring out the best in a person. You must always visualize their best. Actually, a perfect example of this is a few years ago, I read about how they did a study where they took a class of students, I believe it was in grade school, and the teacher basically was teaching 2 different sets of kids, and she was told that basically one set of kids was the smart group, right? They had taken IQ tests, all this stuff. They could get things faster. These kids were going to go far. And then she was told that the other kids were, average or below average, nothing special to them. And the fact of the matter was, at the end of the year, the kids she thought were excellent and smart ended up doing much better in all their exams, had much greater attention, and it ended up being really good for those kids. They improved a lot over that year. And the other group really didn't, right? She didn't think great of them, and so she didn't, put forth her best effort, and they ended up not having nearly as much success by the end of the year and learning as much. In fact, I think they were even a couple months behind on material. But the fact of the matter is that it was all the teacher's perception. The real thing that was happening in the study is that all the kids on average had the same IQ and everything. They didn't separate them based on any factor whatsoever. It was completely a blind test. So you got to think positively of others. Imagine how you can add value to people. And the third thing, practice adding value to yourself, right? What can I do to make myself more valuable today? Visualize yourself not as you are, but as what you can be. And specific ways for attaining this will come to you if you just ask yourself regularly, what can I be? What value can I add? Now, this next story really shows the value of thinking big, no matter what you're doing. David knew this man who was retiring. And 5 years prior to that, he'd hired an accountant to obviously, do accounting things. But Harry, the accountant, as soon as he got involved with this company, he just got very engaged. He really looked at the company and believed in it and he was actively engaged in the entire company from the get-go rather than just his job. And so after some time of him being there, he saw an issue in the production department, and he believed, I think there's something we can do here. And so he did a bunch of research on his own and figured out that if the owner invested another $30,000 in this piece of equipment, it would really end up benefiting the company. And so he showed the owner, and eventually the owner gave in and went for it, and he bought it, and it ended up really helping the company. A couple years later, they had some issues with sales, where sales were down, things weren't going so well. And so Harry went out and he came up with a couple ideas, and he came back to the owner and he said, well, honestly, I don't know anything about sales. I've never done it before, but I think we could do X, Y, and Z to, maybe help things out a little bit. And they tested these things, and they ended up working, and they ended up selling more as well. And basically what this shows, though, is that Harry, he just took a real interest in everything. In fact, another beautiful part to this is whenever a new employee was hired, Harry would always show the employee around, tell them everything he could about the company. He took a real interest in that person and helping them succeed there. And so then when it came time for the owner to retire, the owner just realized, there's only one suitable person for this. There's only one person in this company that's really engaged in helping the company all the time. And he took the accountant and made him president of the company. So the guy went from being simply an accountant to president of a pretty successful large business in just 5 years, simply by helping. He always helped whenever he could. He always tried to figure out if there's a way to do things better. Okay. The last part of this chapter teaches us how to not let trivial things get in the way of us thinking big and not let it get in the way of us achieving things. The first one is, what does it take to give a good speech, right? A lot of people, when they're going up to give a speech, they think about all the little things they got to do, right? I gotta talk well. I gotta not say ums. I gotta stand up straight. I gotta, look comfortable. I gotta make sure that I'm not talking about, the next slide before I switch it over. All these, hundreds of little things. And so by the time they go up to give the speech, they're so scared about screwing up all these little things that they end up butchering their speech. But what he found is that the people who really end up having a great speech are those people that have an intense desire to say what they're saying, and they have real knowledge of what they want to say, right? They just believe, and that's all that matters. If a speaker comes up and gets on stage and fumbles through the slides and slouches or whatever, but they end up talking about their stuff with passion and vigor and belief, you're going to engage no matter what. What really matters when giving a speech is not all the small things. It's your belief in what you're talking about, that you want to get it out there, and your just desire to do that. The second thing is what causes quarrels. It's almost always trivial things that cause issues, right? Someone comes home and they forgot to do the dishes the night before, and so their girlfriend's like, what the hell, you didn't do the dishes? And then before you think twice, you go, well, you didn't, do the laundry last week. Then she goes, and it just ends up going in this big circle where you take one jab and then you shoot another jab, and it ends up, you might throw all these different things out that just turn the fight into a big old thing about nothing, and then you both go away mad and you haven't even solved the problem, and then that just gives you ammo for next time, right? You can obviously tell for me, I can't even think of mean things to say because I've been doing this too long. Anyway, don't let trivial things hurt you and let you make a quarrel be a quarrel. When someone starts telling you, why didn't you do the dishes last night? Before you talk, just think, is this important? Right? If this is something important, yeah, okay, maybe it makes sense to have an argument or talk about it or work through it. But if it's something as simple as doing the dishes, you just gotta realize, you know what, I'm sorry, here, let me take care of it now. Right? Just immediately let it go. 90% of arguments aren't worth fighting for. David talks about how some old military lingo talks about how it's not about winning the fight, it's about winning the war. You got to just let things wash over you, and always ask yourself, if you see a fight about to begin, is it important? The third thing is even stuttering is a mere detail. David had a friend who had a man come interview for him, and the man said, "Oh my God, this guy's not good for me, but I think he'd be great for you, David. Here, I'm going to send him over." So David was all excited, and the guy came over, and he was applying for a sales position, and he just had the worst stutter. He couldn't even get through a sentence. Right, it was just insane. And so David immediately realized why his friend sent him over. It was kind of a joke, and he was thinking in his head, this guy couldn't sell $1 on Wall Street for 90 cents. But then he got to talking to the guy, and he kind of felt bad for him, so he asked him a few questions, and he realized that this guy, he wasn't stupid. He was actually pretty smart. He held himself well. He liked people. He seemed to have most of the qualities that a good salesperson would need. And so finally David asked him, "What makes you think you can sell?" And his response was, "I learn fast, I like people, and I want to make money. Now, I do have a speech impediment, but that doesn't bother me, so why should it bother anyone else?" And immediately David right then and there was just like, you know what? I got to give this guy a chance. That was if it doesn't bother him, why should it bother anybody else? Fair enough. Let's see if he can do it. And it turned out this guy's actually doing pretty well for his company, right? A few months in, he realized this guy could do it. So even a speech impediment, a stutter, can be a triviality when it comes to thinking big and having great success in life. All right, so we've got two ways to steer clear of trivialties. And the first one is keep your eyes focused on the big objective, right? In sales, the goal is to win sales, right? Not win the argument. Think about like if you're at home or something in a marriage, the goal is to have a happy, tranquil home life, not to say, "I told you so." And the second thing is ask, is it really important before becoming negatively excited? Is it important enough for me to get all worked up about? All right, now we're on to the recap. Remember, it always pays in every way to think big. Here's the 5 things that mattered in this chapter. First one, don't sell yourself short, right? Conquer the crime of self-deprecation. Concentrate on your assets. You're better than you think you are. Second thing, use the big thinker's vocabulary, right? Use big, bright, cheerful words. Use words that promise victory, hope, happiness, pleasure, and avoid images that create unpleasant images like failure, defeat, and grief. Third thing, stretch your vision. See what can be, not just what is. Practice adding value to things, to people, to yourself. The fourth thing, get the big view of your job. Really think that your present job is important. That next promotion depends mostly on how you think toward your present job. And 5, think above trivial things. Focus your attention on big objectives. Before getting involved in a petty matter, ask yourself, is it really important? Grow big by thinking big. Woo, yeah! Hope you enjoyed this video. Good Morning Entrepreneur is here to make your mornings wonderful every day so you can have a fantastic day. Please subscribe, like, comment. If you have any questions, shoot them down there. Super appreciate you watching these videos. Can't wait to see you next time. Have a great day. And as always, whatever you're going to do, make it happen now.